It's Last Call Sunday, Championship Sunday in the NFL. I'm the prep queen, Ariel Epstein. We've got a great group of people coming on the show today, so I'm really excited. We've got VR. Obviously, he's on every Sunday with us, giving us all the sharp groups and what they are betting today. Then we're going to be joined by Marco D'Angelo and Steve Merrill. We're all breaking down the games from all different angles. I'll give you guys some props at the end of the show. I've been doing well, so I'm hoping that nothing comes to an end this weekend. It's also a reminder that every team of ours that's not named the Patriots, the Broncos, the Seahawks, or the Rams are not good enough to be here today, but we are. And so is Jarrett Stidham. Unbelievable. I can't believe Jarrett Stidham's revenge game is going to take over the AFC Championship. So games start at 3 p.m. Eastern. Then the NFC is going to be 6:30 p.m. Eastern. It is a snowy blizzard here today in New York. So I'm very excited to be inside watching football. Very excited to also see what our next guest hat is of the day. Yanni the Greek joining us live from Las Vegas. I'm sure it's not snowing there. Yanni's wearing the Phillies hat. We mean business today.
Yeah, we're in war zone today. War mode. I just moved like 50 dimes. I swear, where's the props right now for all these accounts? We just
oh my god, I can't wait to get a list of them.
But hold on. Before we start, I need to address the very first comment in the room, because I tell you when I win and I tell you when I lose. And this channel is dedicated towards winning. It's dedicated towards making the viewers sharper bettors, making them more profitable bettors, helping those that are negative EV slowly turn positive EV. But the only way we do that is by keeping it real and talking truths. And here's what we need to share. I'm coming off a loss of a 5% last night. And I'm sure a lot of my subscribers are mad because we were running really hot, having a great 2026. And that was a chalky bet minus 220 on Patty, who lost that fight as a 5%. And this gentleman's mad because he's saying you went 1-5 or 1-7 on your last 5%. Here's what I can tell you, because I always keep it real. I don't want anyone spending a single penny on my information unless our goals are aligned. And my goals and this gentleman's goals are not aligned. My only goal, I have one goal, and that's when December 31st rolls around, to be profitable. That's it. I do this for money. I don't do it for any other reason. I could care less about watching this stuff. I could care less about cheering in player props or any of that nonsense. I do this for money. That's the only reason. And here's what I can tell you. I went and looked. 2023, 4.5% return on investment on 5%. 2024, 5.2% return on investment on 5%. 2025 just passed, 15.7% return on investment on 5%, over 50 units of profit. Brother, I can't do better than that. In the short term, yeah, I'm going to lose a couple, I'm going to win a couple, but the only goal I have is long term to be profitable. And yes, in 2026, I am 1-3 on my 5%. I am negative, but it's the first month. I have 11 months to go. And over the last 3 years, we've produced over 25% return on investment on those 5%. So again, I don't mean to go long, but these are the kind of topics that we got to cover, because if you got buried because of one bet, you're doing it wrong. Like if you need a lock to save your week, to get you out of the hole, you're doing it wrong. The 5% for me is 0.25% of bankroll, more than a 4%. That's it. So for example, if I have a $10,000 bankroll, my 4% is a $100 bet. My 5% is $125. It's worth $25 per 10 grand bankroll to me. So if you have a 50 grand bankroll, you only bet $125 more on a 5 than a 4. Or you're doing it wrong. So that money management is more important than anything else. Again, I tell you when I win, I tell you when I lose. And we're coming off a loss of a 5%, but those have been so profitable. If you can't make money off my 5%, again, you're doing it wrong. Now let's talk about the NFL, because I was going to fire
Yanni,
one
I
today.
want to just say this, even though the chat is blowing up about how great you are. You gave me the best advice years ago when we first met, when I was over at another company. The best advice you ever gave me was, Ariel, remember, just because you go cold for a little bit doesn't mean that your system doesn't work. If you know that your system works long-term, then you have to stick to it. And if it stops working, then you can change what you're doing, but you're in it for the long run. And that's exactly what I always stand by when I lose a bet, when I go cold. I say, remember what Yanni said. You know your system works long term. So if you're in it with Yanni, you're in it long term, not for one day.
Good girl. When in doubt, zoom out. Numbers never lie. At the end, that's why I say keep records so you don't lie to yourself. Your numbers will not lie. They'll tell you the truth, because we could all convince ourselves of anything. But,
and that's why Kelly and I always talk about using Pickett, because Pickett is,
it documents your results. That's it.
It documents your results. You'll see when you win. You see when you lose. You see what markets you're good at, and you're able to see which leads you're best at betting, parlays, props, sides, totals. It tells you what you've been good at and what you're not, and it automatically does it when you link your sports book. You can use promo code PrepQueen when you sign up. But yeah, it is a very useful tool that you don't have to do it yourself. You could just automatically, it does it for you. But Yanni, let's dive into these winners today, because we know that we'll bounce back, and we've got the championship round of the playoffs. Before we dive into the props, because I'm really excited to get your long list, I am very curious about this first game, 3 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of movement. I mean, we've seen no movement really on the spread in game 2, but in game 1, this line went, we know the look ahead was 1.5 Broncos with Bo Nix, which now he's out. Then it flips to the Broncos being dogs, 4.5, 5.5. Now we're seeing 3.5 for the Patriots laying on the road in Denver. What do you make of the line?
Okay. The situation is this. As soon as the line came out, the sharp bettors are trying to get out ahead of the market. So they're trying to determine what the market's going to do, and they're looking at their power ratings. So combined, they're expecting that the market's going to overreact to Bo Nix being out, because there's a backup quarterback that hasn't really played in 2 years, 2+ years, hasn't had any much of a sample size. So they expected the bettors to come in on New England against Denver. So they want to get out ahead of the market. They get on New England. That line moves up, like you said, up to like 5.5. I even saw some 6s out there. Then that's when they start handicapping the matchup, and they start to determine that, wait a minute, Bo Nix, when you look at his QBR, when you look at his passing success rate, he's really not that big of a drop-off to the backup. Meaning, if you're just looking at the numbers and you're covering the names up, and you're not looking at any of the games, and you're just looking at what has Bo Nix done in 2025 and 2024, and what has Stidham done the last 2 seasons that he has played, which is 2022 and 2023. Vegas and Denver, those are the last 2 years we have a significant sample size for him. And when you look at the QBR, it's very comparable. Nix is averaging about a 90 over the last 2 seasons, and Stidham over his 2 seasons, 2022 and 23, is about 88, 89. So not a big drop-off. And I think the betting syndicates, when they started seeing, coupled with a coach who's dealt with this situation. Remember, he's dealt with this in New Orleans. He's dealt with this in the past, where he has to bring in a serviceable backup whose job is not to win the game. It's just not to lose the game also. And he's gotten the job done with a solid game plan. And with Denver being primarily a defensive team, they won it with defense, right? Not with offense. They're barely an average offense at best. I think that's when you started seeing the switch. And the conclusion started being, the narrative was, wait, they overreacted. No quarterback is worth this if his backup's not that big of a drop. That's the key. The value over replacement player is one of the best correlations to winning bets. Like, if you're good at pricing replacement players, you'll make a lot of money betting sports. But I think that's what happened here. Overreaction to what the drop-off is. And as the handicap started, coming to fruition, and people started doing work, they started seeing, wait, this line's a little bit too high, and that's why it's dropped. Now, we're not going to see the key number of 3. That's not happening. So we're really talking about, should it be 5? Should it be 4? Should it be 3.5? Like, again, every half point matters, especially when you're talking about the NFL. But unless this gets to 3, it isn't all that significant. With that said, I do say this. If you're betting New England today, you better be looking to lay 3.5 or 3 even discounted. If you're betting Denver today, you better be looking for 4s. The worst you should have is 4. You should even be looking for 4.5. and you could buy that hook at anything less than 120 or better, because the half a point from 3.5 to 4 is worth more than the 10 cents they charge us, especially in a conference championship game like today. Today's the kind of day where you do want to use teasers, even though they're not wongable. Today's the day where every half point does matter. In fact, there were bookmakers that have gone on record saying conference championship, the teaser line should be closer to minus 170, 180. Based on history. And a lot of books even limit their teasers. I know a book of mine that would take 5,000 from me on a teaser, 6-point teaser during the regular season. They'll take 500 today. And even though it's a big playoff game, because again, they think the points really matter when it comes, even though it doesn't. Like historically, we know it doesn't. This round of the playoffs, pick the winner, you're going to cash a ticket. And we know it's hold true so far in these playoffs. I think every single game, the spreads only mattered in like 2 or 3 of them. So it's hold true, or 8 out of 10 times. You pick the winner, you're going to cash a ticket. So if you like New England, you shouldn't be afraid to lay it. If you like Denver, you shouldn't be afraid to take the points. Same thing take the money line. Same thing with Rams Seattle. If you're betting dogs today, don't be afraid of the money line. If you're betting favorites, again, usually the spread doesn't matter. So you want to lay the points and not the money line.
Yanni, I was looking at the total for this game, and on Sunday, I saw the total at 40.5. Now we're all the way up to 43.5. What are your groups doing with the total?
I bet it over. Me and my subscribers
are. You still bet over 43.5 since the number's gone?
No. I went over 41. And because this is exactly what I thought was going to happen. I thought they brought it out short because of the quarterback situation. Number one, you have 2 teams that are defensive minded. Both of them are stronger on the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball, a lot stronger, almost 2x better in their rankings defensively than offensively. So usually you're going to get the total to reflect that. So we're going to get a lower total than we should get. Then you get an injured quarterback. So they're going to bring it even shorter than they should. That was the perfect storm to go over. The only thing I was worried about are the betting syndicates going to steam it under, and am I going to look like a fool? Like, am I going over 41, and then I'm going to look up and look at a 39 3 days later because it's going to snow in Denver or something like that? That was my only fear, getting down early, and I was holding my breath because usually this late in the playoffs, you're not going to get line movement unless it's a big injury or it's weather related. And in this case, that wasn't it. I mean, yeah, it was little injury related, but it was more the overreaction to the total. And again, I had it power rated. My total was 45. So I was going to bet it over. And I didn't think the drop off with Stidham was that big to stop me from betting that over. So I'm glad I did it. I did my job, but now they got to do theirs. It's like, again, you could do yours perfectly, but they got to go out and do theirs now today. And hopefully.
I've actually got a crazy question for you that it sparked my mind that you said now the number's gone for betting the over. So what I've realized a lot of people are doing now, especially on these apps like DK, FanDuel, etc., they're able to take these alt totals and alt spreads and parlay them together. People have been doing this. Like, I was on a show the other day and they said, I'm going to take the alt total of 41.5, parlay it with an alt spread of Patriots minus 1.5. How would you advise people go about, like, would you say, sure, do it because a win's a win? Or are you going to tell people that that's bad because it's not plus EV?
Save your money. What are you doing? Like, if you're doing this for fun, honestly, like, we got to keep it real. I get it. All those guys out there on social media and all the sports betting influencers that are getting $100 to do a video and tell you to go and parlay, great. God bless them. They're making their living and they should. But we know the truth. And the truth is parlays are crushing bettors. There's no way around it. I mean, I talked about it the other day on WagerTalk today. Just go to watch Breaking Points. It's like a news show online. And they actually had a high executive from FanDuel, an ex-executive. Never before has someone that high up gone on the record and actually given his name. And he shared so much information in that 15-minute conversation that he had. I think every sports bettor should listen to it because he talks about exactly that. And how they're separating bettors from their money faster than they're comfortable with. Like, they're like, wait a minute, we're separating these young people from their money too quickly. Should we give them a little better parlay odds because they're just burning through cash too fast? Like they're even feeling sorry for the bettors because they're taking such the worst of it. Bro, they know your biases.
Like people think that if they're putting these 2-leg parlays together and they really love the over, but not 43.5, they'll take an over 40.5. And they love the Patriots to win, but they don't want to lay 3.5. They'll lay 1.5. And they think that they're guaranteeing themselves a win.
You're not getting that. That's what you don't understand. I see it right now. I'm looking at it. That's what I did while you were talking right now. I looked in the back end and I said, let me look at some foolish bets that people are making. And here's one that someone made right now. And this is what they did. They have New England. Okay. They took New England down to -2 from -4, but they're laying -175. Okay. So now at -110, so they could have had New England it's probably -105. They could have New England -4, probably -105. Let's say New England -4, -110. So that means they don't think that there's a 52% chance, greater than 52% chance that New England could win by 4 or more, but they think that there's greater than a 63% chance that they could win by 2 or more. What are you talking about? Like, in what world does that make sense? That you don't think they could win by 4, 52% of the time, but they will do it by more than 2, 63%? Again, these people are a lot smarter than me. I'm sure they have degrees. I'm sure they've a lot more educated. They've read more than me, but you put them in a casino setting and the smartest people become idiots. Like they're placing, like if you just tell them what they did and they wouldn't even understand it. Like they would be like that. What I just said to you, this guy didn't think laying 110 made sense to him. So he does, that's -110 is 52.5%. That's the break even. So he didn't think there was a 52.5% chance that New England could win by 4. But he thinks there's a 65% chance that they win by more than 2. What are you talking about? Like, in what world is that? Like, what are you saying? That you're that sure it's going to land on 3, that you're insuring it? Bro, what do you, like, if you're that psychic, bro?
Hey, I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because I know a lot of people
Sorry, you get me on those rants.
I knew it was going to send you off on a tangent.
Urging bettors to do this stuff.
I knew it was going to send you off on a tangent. Let's talk the real stuff. NFC Championship game, Seahawks-Rams. We haven't seen this spread move at all at 2.5. Of course, on a normal Sunday, it'd be a very nice teaser leg. And I know you and Kelly were laughing on Bet on It that you guys teased it with.
No surprise. Yeah, we cheated.
But okay, so how today, if someone were to want to look at this game and say, who is the right side? Yanni, I'm a little biased. I really need the Rams to win the Super Bowl because then I'll win 50K Survivor and I'll be really happy.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I'll win the full 50, but I'm in the Splash Sports contest that Kelly and I did. But at least I get a portion of it if the Rams win the Super Bowl.
I'm happy to pick up. I'll win 4 dimes if the Rams win the Super Bowl. I found this future I'd put for like a nickel back in, I don't even remember when. And I'm like, whoa, I got 4,000 pending on the Rams. But I'll tell you the truth.
I got Seattle. I mean, I feel like the public's on Seattle today.
They are. But when it comes this late in the season, I got to do what works for me, because I tried to get a little cute in the wild card round and it cost me. I said, bro, how did you finish number 1 in college and NFL? By just trusting your power ratings. That's all you did. They're not going to be right all the time, but that's how you did it. And last week I went back to just trusting my power ratings and I went 8-2-1. And this week, both sides and both totals are off according to my power ratings. So I just followed the script. And Seattle's there for me because I made the number 4, believe it or not. And I love the Rams. Again, I was so high on the Rams because of the quarterback success rate, because they're so well balanced offensively and defensively, that I actually put that future that I didn't even remember. That's how high I was on the Rams and had them power rated number 1 till probably about 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I got to trust my numbers. And on a neutral field, Seattle is not a dog. Let's just put it that way. I won't go as far as saying Seattle should be favored, but they shouldn't be a dog. That much we know. So let's say we make it pick them on a neutral field. You got to give my squad something for home field advantage, right? And that they also should progress towards the mean. They've had 7 turnovers in the 2 games versus the Rams. That shouldn't continue. Like that shouldn't be sustainable. You should have a little better luck than that. So everything points to Seattle. I get it. The public's on them. Don't let that scare you. When it comes this late in the playoffs, when it comes to the Super Bowl, don't care what the public's on, because I promise you, the books are going to do just fine. I get it. They're going to tell you, if the Rams win the Super Bowl, we win this much. If this team wins, we win that much. This team wins, we win that, blah, 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 blah. I promise you, you could look back, bro. I've lived here for 30 plus years. Every single month, they report what they've done. And in 30 years I've been here, so what that makes it, what, 400 months almost? I think they may have lost one or two of those, have they not turned a profit. So don't worry about what Vegas needs. Vegas is just fine. They're going to do just fine regardless of what we bet. So don't worry about what the public is on this late. There's so much volume. It's so balanced that when you're laying 11 to 10 and when they're laying 120s and 130s on these teasers and taking the worst of it on these parlays, trust me, it don't matter what the public's on. If you have conviction and you like a side or total, bet it. Bet it, bet it. It's that part of the year, that time of the year.
For the NFC Championship, we're also seeing the total drop. It was 47.5 last Sunday. It's now 45.5. How would you approach the total?
Well, it's the sharp side. I thought that was going to happen. Listen, we saw them score 70-plus points a couple of weeks ago, and they adjusted down off of that. What does that tell you? That they knew that the wise guys were going to look to go under in this game, because the first game was so lower scoring, and then all of a sudden you saw that shootout after the adjustment last time. And what did they do? They didn't adjust back down. They didn't adjust back up. They brought it out at 47. I expected this to drop down, but the public money going over is what stopped this from going down to like that 45 range. Because I saw multiple groups on the under, even at 46, and I think that's still valuable. Okay, yeah, there's even 46 is still out there because of the public money on the over. And again, they just saw these two teams score 70 plus. They're not betting this game on there unless they saw like blizzard, wind, crazy conditions. I think you're going to get a lot of over money, and I think that risk is just going to increase, and they're going to need the sharps to be right with the under when that one kicks off.
Before we let you go, I need those props.
All right, let me give you different props. In the Steam sheet, let me tell you what was in there. A lot of these probably got away, but Puka rushing yards, his rushing yards over 4.5. Hunter Henry receiving yards over 41.5. Devontae Adams pass receptions under 4.5. Also went Devontae Adams passing receiving yards under. Colby Parkinson.
You said Adams over receptions?
Under.
Oh, under.
Adams under 4.5 receptions and under, I think it was like 49.5 receiving yards, if I'm right. Colby Parkinson over 22.5 receiving yards. Shaheed pass receptions for Shaheed under 1.5. And here, I'll give you the premiums that I gave out as well. These are premium. These went through subscribers, 3% plays. I'll just give them to you. Hunter Henry, over 3.5 receptions, minus 115. RJ Harvey, receiving yards, over 20.5. That was good to minus 150. So we thought 6 out of 10 times he gets over 20.5. RJ Harvey. Kenneth Walker, receiving yards, over 20.5. 21.5 and 22.5. So Kenneth Walker III expected to have a good game. And I gave you the Devontae Adams receiving yards under 49.5. So I just gave you 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 of my premium props. And if I'm not mistaken,
I agree on the Henry one. I have him at 39.5 receiving yards. Hunter Henry over 39.5 receiving yards is what I bet. You get 40. You gave out 41.5 receiving yards.
I gave out what, over 41?
Yeah, you said over 41.5 receiving yards.
You get 39.5?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Why not? Cheer it in.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's still out there, but it was out there like 3 days ago.
The props have been so good. I think I was perfect last week on the premium, something like 4-0, 5-0. I think the week before that. But those are the 4 I used for my subscribers. Devontae Adams under 49.5 receiving yards. Kenneth Walker over 21.5 receiving yards. Hunter Henry over 3.5 receptions, and Harvey receiving yards over 20.5. So, yeah, 3 overs and an under. There you go. I just gave you guys all that volume. Good stuff.
I love it. Yanni, What do you got the steam room today?
It's coming up. It's coming up at 9. We're going to go an hour, and we're going to do it again. Next week, I'll decide whether Saturday or Sunday, but I want to do Sunday for the Super Bowl. But after that, it's going to be Saturdays. Saturdays in because that's when we have all the college basketball. So much information. We're crushing hoops right now. In NBA, been very selective. Crushing NBA, crushing college basketball. So we're going to move it to Saturday. And, of course, MMA is back, UFC on Saturdays. And make sure if you're betting your own stuff, you want to look at that Steam sheet. Just look at what stuff was shared in there yesterday. College basketball, NBA, and the UFC went like 5-2 on the Steam that was in there. So for those handicappers out there, good stuff. And again, today's package, that's up both sides, both totals, and 4-player props. May add some more. We'll see. But see you at noon in the Steam room. Thanks, Ariel. Good luck to everybody today.
Thanks, Yanni. Good luck today. Coming on now, we're going to be joined by Marco D'Angelo, known as Marco in Vegas. We're just going to have the whole Bet On It crew today. I absolutely love it. Marco, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday, but it's also sad. It's only 3 more football games, Ariel.
I know. I'm crushed. Honestly, I was thinking about how today I have like 2 games and then we're done until the Super Bowl. It's just so depressing to think that next week I'm going to sit there like twiddling my thumbs. But then I leave for San Francisco with Kelly in Vegas. So I should just prepare.
I'll pray for you.
Thank you. Me too.
Kelly's a bad influence.
And we're going to be in Vegas for March Madness. So I pray for all of us in that situation. Okay, Marco, we've got the AFC Championship that doesn't feature either of our teams. Actually, that reminds me. How do you feel about Mike McCarthy, Mr. Steeler?
You want the unedited version?
Yeah.
This is exactly how I feel about it. I don't like it. And why I don't like it, Ariel, is the Steelers, what they've done with the coaching decision they made is just an extension, I feel, of what they've done the last 2 years regarding the quarterback. It's a Band-Aid. Remember, 2 years ago, they went out and signed Russell Wilson for that, thinking they were going to catch lightning in a bottle for, that 1 year. That didn't work out. Then we did Aaron Rodgers last year. Going from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy, you got a veteran coach. He's been there. He's done that. I get that. I understand. He's a Pittsburgh native. That helped as well. But it's a Band-Aid. This is not what the Steelers need if you want to look long-term future and try to bring the offense to, 2026 standards. We'll see what happens. He is more of an offensive coach. We get that. But, he's still, he's been around forever. I was hoping they would go with a younger, coordinator, do that. And this is the oldest coach hiring that they've had out of the last 3. Remember, when they hired Cowher and they hired Tomlin, they were both young in getting their first head coaching jobs, and it worked out well. So we'll see what happens, but I'm not a fan of the signing.
Yeah, I felt like the Ravens won that one, but I guess we'll let the results speak next year because neither of our teams are in it this year. AFC Championship game, Denver Broncos, Jarrett Stidham hosting the New England Patriots. We've seen this line go all the way around. It was 5.5, 4.5, now 3.5. Marco, what do you make of this side and total?
Well, what you've seen happen with the line is what I thought originally. Now, there's been discussions on what would the line have been had Bo Nix been in. And most people settled in at 1.5. I was on a little bit on the higher side. I thought Denver would have been a 2.5-point favorite, given the fact that the line closed in the Buffalo game last week with Denver minus 1.5. You put New England and Buffalo side by side on a neutral field. Buffalo's going to be the favorite in that game. And that's why I thought the line would have been a little higher with Denver versus New England. With that said, when this number come out at, 5 and 5.5, when it got to its peak, that was just way too many points. Okay. I know Jarrett Stidham has not played meaningful football in over 2 years, but 7 points or more for Bo Nix isn't just an overstatement. And that's the books knowing what the public's going to do. The public doesn't like to take injured teams, especially when it comes to the quarterback position. Also, when it's a quarterback that hasn't played, they overreact even more. So I thought the line was too high. Set it on, bet on it, and we've seen the line shift around, is it's come back. And this is going to be one of those classic ones, Ariel, where we said, is it going to be the Joes versus the pros? Because the public's going to want New England. The sharper guys want Denver. And I agree with the Denver side. And I'll throw in the other situation there. When you look at this, because he hasn't played. Now, I realize that he was at New England and he was with Josh McDaniels, both at New England and the short-term head coaching job that he had here in Las Vegas, Josh McDaniels. So everybody says, well, he knows Jared Stidham. Well, apparently he doesn't know him very well because he couldn't get anything out of him. Okay. We'll see what Sean Payton does. But here's the thing. There is no real game film on him for the last 2 years. So that gives Denver, in my opinion, a built-in little advantage because New England doesn't totally know what to game plan for. So we're going to have that element of surprise. So as I said on Bet On It, one of the first wagers I thought was good in this situation is I like Denver in the first half. Because I think that, they'll get in there and make some adjustments at halftime, New England, to whatever Denver's doing. But I think Denver's going to have a few surprises for them, and I expect them to get out to a quicker start. And I'll grab the 3 points that were available at the time for the first half wager on Denver. The other element that we always talk about, and we didn't go into detail on Bet On It, but the injured player theory. And this is something that, I've said for years, that whenever a team suffers an injury to a star player, that first game after the injury, they're a play on for several reasons. One, what we just talked about, there's going to be an over adjustment to the line because Vegas knows what the public's going to do and they're going to make them pay to do it. The second part of it is the team itself. The team, we use the phrase that everybody else steps it up a notch and they're going to play it, they're going to give 110%, even though we know you can't give more than 100%, but it's a phrase we use. Well, Ariel, one of the things that I like about, I do a radio show here in Vegas 2 days a week. And a lot of people ask me, why do you bother doing that? Because I get to talk to current and former coaches and players on the radio show. And this Friday, when I was doing the show, and if you're ever in Vegas on Friday, stop by.
Oh, did Marco freeze? We lost Marco. No, we lost Marco. Oh, no. And I heard he has a good story, too. I'm sure he'll be back. But I feel like we should take him off the screen till he comes back, Louie. He's frozen in a bad spot. Let me know when we get Marco back, and you can just throw him back on the screen. Apparently Marco has a good story too about some injured player theory that I wanted to dive into. And now I'm trying to figure out, do we go to Steve Merrill or do we talk some props and try to get Marco back? In case anyone did miss it, Yanni the Greek gave us some props. So some of the props in case I know we've got a lot more people chiming in now. Puka Nacua over rushing yards. Hunter Henry over receiving yards. Devontae Adams under receptions and under receiving yards. Colby Parkinson over 22.5 receiving yards. Shaheed under 1.5 receptions. Hunter Henry over 3.5 receptions. RJ Harvey over 20.5 receiving yards. Kenneth Walker over receiving yards. I will tell you this, going off those. So I have Hunter Henry over 39.5 receiving yards. Only women are interested in the halftime show. Get the hell out of here, bro. Hunter Henry, I loved it because when you look at Hunter Henry's numbers against teams that are bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to tight ends, he's averaging 5 receptions, 67.5 receiving yards, and 21 yards per longest reception. Denver, 9th most receiving yards per game allowed to tight ends. In fact, 61% of tight ends in the last 10 games went over their receiving yards prop, and 71% went over their receptions prop in the last 10 games against Denver. So the Broncos have been struggling this year when up against tight ends. Kenneth Walker, I will warn you guys on the running back for the Seahawks. That is one of the most bet on props of the day, Kenneth Walker over receiving yards. So what I ended up doing was going over his longest reception prop of 11.5 yards. I think he should have one good catch that he busts open with. he's up against a defense that is bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed to running back. So the matchup is great. He's not really splitting carries with anybody now that Zach Charbonnet is out for the season with a torn ACL. So I would just focus on that a bit with Kenneth Walker. What else did I like today that Yanni didn't mention? I also wanted to mention that the Denver quarterback, Jarrett Stidham, his passing yard prop went from 198.5 to 208.5. The number was low because in all 4 of Jarrett Stidham's last 4 games that he started back to 2022, he did have 200 plus passing yards. So maybe this was a bit of an overreaction, but New England has allowed the 9th least passing yards per game to quarterbacks. So just be a little weary of that 208.5 now because it was 198.5. I think people realized it was low, but now, I mean, I didn't like the over to begin with, but I would definitely be staying away from the Jarrett Stidham props today. Marco, you're back?
We're back. We lost internet here. Lovecock's internet in Vegas. That's my.
I was going to say, we're the ones that should be losing internet. We've got a blizzard outside. We've got Steve Merrill waiting in the wings, so I don't want to keep him waiting too long. But you mentioned some parts of that Broncos game, but there was a injured player theory that Kelly wanted me to bring up to you, and you said that you have a great story.
Yeah, and when I do radio here in Vegas, I get to talk to a lot of former players and stuff. And I asked on Friday, Trevor Maddich, 12-year NFL lineman, I asked him about what's it like when you have a star player out like this, okay? Because we have theories, but obviously I've never played pro sports. I can only, give my theory. And he confirmed everything that I've always thought about it. He says that when you lose a player like that, everybody else does take it up a notch. And he says, and him being, a center, he goes, when we've got a backup quarterback, everybody in that offensive lineman room, we look at each other in the eye and say, this game's ours. It's our job to protect him. It's our job to open up the lanes for the running backs. We have to make it easier for him. And that's why I like to do it. You're getting extra points because Vegas is going to over-adjust the lines. And the players do take that extra step. They're more focused. They know what they got to do. They have more attention to detail. And on the flip side of it, Ariel, if you're a player on the other team, mentally you have that little, we just caught a break. Maybe you exhale and say, hey, we caught a break. We don't have to worry about Bo Nix. We've got Jared Stidham. That's a mental advantage for the injured team. And I agree with it. I am on Denver. I think Denver is the side. And I think there's really 3 ways you can attack Denver. I already said earlier, Denver first half, because I think they're going to have a bigger adjustment. They're going to have a better chance in the first half getting a lead because New England doesn't know what to look for. Also, full game, obviously. But the team total on Denver is only 17.5 because they're not giving them any chance offensively. I think Sean Payton, we've seen it so many times. He's going to have a couple surprises. I think they get over that 17.5 points. I would like them team total as well. So there you go. You got 3 ways to play Denver all in the same game.
How about for the late game NFC Championship? This line hasn't moved. It's been sitting at 2.5 the entire week. I wish we could tease it. We can't. The total has dropped as well. Seahawks and Rams.
Yeah. I think that Seattle, if Sam Darnold, and this is the big question mark, if he has a clean game, Seattle wins this game comfortably. Okay. And I don't think they're going to put Sam Darnold in a position where he has to carry the team. They're going to try to run the football. I know they're down 1 running back, but the Rams, this is the 3rd game in a row on the road, and they haven't stopped anybody in the first 2 games. Carolina moved the football, and we saw what the Bears did. Now they're playing a Seattle team that can run the football, has a quality quarterback.
Oh, no, we lost Marco again. Okay.
But
there he is. Nope. All right. We've got to get to
and
Steve.
I'm going to lay it with Seattle.
Well, we got that part in. Okay. You cut out again. But
yeah.
He's laying it with Seattle, everybody. Marco D'Angelo. Catch him at Marco in Vegas. What are you promoting today?
Yeah, you can check out what I've got in football. I'll be adding some basketball and hockey to the card here when I get done with you guys. And grab that 7-day all-access package at WagerTalk. That's the best deal going. And a programming note for Bet On It. No bet on it this week, but we're going to have our special Super Bowl edition on Monday, February 2nd. So make a note of that. Instead of the normal Wednesday, it'll be on Monday, February 2nd.
I love to hear it. I will be listening. Marco D'Angelo, thank you as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Last, certainly not least, the great Steve Merrill joining the show. We're going to get his thoughts all throughout the board of today's championship day. How are you, Steve?
We always think alike, Ariel. I was going to say it's very ironic that the guy in Las Vegas froze twice when you and I are literally freezing on the East Coast right now.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we got power.
I the one with the problem. But I will say this, as much crap as Kelly wants to give me for living in New York, the one perk of living in New York City, it is very rare that in an apartment building in New York City that you lose power.
Interesting. Yeah.
Very rare. We've got so many generators in this building.
Oh, I got you.
I haven't lost power yet in 5 years, so hopefully that doesn't happen today for the championship.
Yeah, so it's been over 5 years for me as well because we haven't lost it since COVID. I was before that. So, yeah, let's hope we don't double jinx each other. That's interesting about the generators. I was trying to figure out why you wouldn't lose it, but that makes a lot of sense.
Too many people. Many people. They would have madness if we lost any power here in the city.
That is true. Yeah, it's ironic also that I was thinking about this before coming on. I'm checking the latest weather reports that, almost 2/3 of the country as of tomorrow are going to be in sub-freezing temperatures at some point, like 220 million people. It's like 180 million today, about half the country. Yet both NFL championship games aren't going to have weather problems. Seattle's going to be in the low 40s, high 30s, a little chilly. And then Denver will maybe get flurries in like the second half from what I'm seeing, but nothing crazy. But it is going to be cold in that Denver game, and the wind chill is going to be extremely cold, but not windy. So I do think scoring conditions will be fine. We'll see how it affects the quarterbacks maybe at Denver. Obviously, New England quarterbacks, Denver quarterbacks are used to it. Drake May's young, but I think he's probably played in some cold games this year.
What do you like in that game between the Broncos taking on the Patriots?
Yeah, I was hoping Marco would freeze more because he and I think so alike many times as handicappers. We're both situational guys. It's funny. I'm doing the best betting show now on Thursdays and Fridays with Joe Ranieri and the Prez here on WagerTalk TV each afternoon. So check that out on Thursdays and Fridays. And Prez mentioned that I'm number one all time. By the way, I do have an NBA season special up on my page because I'm the number one ranked NBA capper in the history of WagerTalk. And Prez mentioned that Teddy and Marco and I are always vying for number one in the NBA. And as he said that, I was thinking that's interesting because we have very similar handicapping styles. Teddy and I situational, and Marco is definitely a situational capper. And I thoroughly agree with what he said about the injury handicaps. And that's why both of us do so well in the NBA. And you and I have talked about it also, that if you just blindly play those NBA teams without their star player, especially that first game, they often win outright, but you're getting tons of extra line value. The question with NFL quarterbacks isn't how much an NFL quarterback is worth. It's how much the difference is between the starter and the backup. So I'm going to talk about this a little more detailed than Marco did. I agree, first of all, that teams step up, other teams overlook them. You definitely get line value. This line's about a touchdown difference than what it would have been with Bo Nix. So the question is Stidham really that much worse than Bo Nix? And if you look at the numbers, I don't think he is. Definitely some uncertainty with a guy that hasn't thrown an NFL pass for the past 2 seasons, but he's been with the Broncos now for 3 years. He started several games with them 3 years ago before Nix came in. He also played 5 games with the Raiders the year before that. Those 2 seasons when he started several games with the Raiders and the Broncos, his QB rating was about 88.5, 89. Bo Nix has a 90.5 career QB rating. Stidham averaged 7.5 yards per pass. Nix averages about 6.5 yards per pass in his career. Actually, Stidham's been better, although he had different players there. Bo Nix does have a better touchdown-interception ratio, but the bottom line is the Broncos aren't winning this year because of the quarterback. They're winning, I'm not going to say despite the quarterback. He's been playing well, but they're winning because of the defense and also a good running game. So with extremely cold conditions, the better defense getting points. And also I'll point out that the public is on New England in this game, but this line has been dropping all week. It was as high as 5.5 earlier in the week, 4.5 when I did my video for this Sunday. Recorded that on Friday. Check that out here on WagerTalk TV. Now it's 3.5. We have a sharp square divide in this game. The public is leading the Patriots. The sharp money is still on the Broncos, and I think it's an overreaction. And let's not forget, NFL home dogs are a long-term 70% play on the blind for over 40 years in the NFL playoffs. As my friend Mark Lawrence pointed out this week, had this line stayed at +4, it would have been the biggest home dog in NFC Championship history, and definitely the only number 1 seed that's been that big of a dog. I think there's some reasons to like the Broncos. And Ariel, it's tough for me because I think the Broncos are a phony number 1 seed. I've said that for several weeks now, but the matchups and the line value keeps working for him.
Yeah, that line just keeps moving in favor of Denver and Jarrett Stidham, which is unbelievable. A line that we have not seen move, that Seahawks-Rams game. It's been sitting there at 2.5. Marco says he's laying it with the Seahawks. I have a lot of good friends who I trust in the betting world that are laying it with the Seahawks. The public is laying it with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Steve Merrill, are you laying it with the Seahawks?
Exactly right. The line hasn't moved. It's a great point. And, I talked about the public is on the opposite side of the line move in the Denver game. And by the way, I thought Denver's a phony 1 seed. I said last week, Ariel, in my videos that the Bears were a phony 2 seed. One of the worst defenses in the league this year. Was looking to fade them. So what do? I used the Bears last week, plus the 3.5 and 4, and they cover. And another best bet winner, number one NFL the past year plus now at WagerTalk. So it all comes down to line value, right? Maybe I'm looking to fade Denver. I'm looking to fade Chicago, but these lines just aren't right. So we cashed with the Bears. I think that Bronco game could be a similar situation today with that 3.5, 4, kind of like Chicago losing but covering. With that said, this one you probably pick the straight up winner. You're going to get the point spread winner. 3 is the key number. Doesn't look like it's going to hit that. And whenever you have the odds makers, the sports books, everyone kind of begging you to take the minus 2.5, that's always a red flag for me. I think the Rams have a very good shot in this game. And let's not forget, they won the home game 21-19 back in mid-November. And then, of course, we got that rematch on Thursday night. Prime, one of my 16-3 free prime winners, was the over in that rematch in mid-December. 60 points in regulation, 75 at the end of overtime. But as Yanni said, the sharp money's been on the under in this game, yet the public is still on the over. When I did the video a couple days ago, I said, hey, 46.5, if you like the underweight, the public's going to push this higher. Well, they haven't been able to do it because the sharp money continues to come in on the under. It's now 46, even 45.5. 46 is a dead number. So 45.5, 46.5, very little difference. 1% chance it lands on the odd number, the evenly odd number of 46. 45, though, does become a key number. So if you like the under, you're probably not going to find that 47 now. I would play the under 46, 45.5. And it's definitely a contrarian call. Hard for me to make a case because the last game was high scoring. But I'll go back to that first game, which was only 21-19. I do a rescore model for all the NFL games based on the drive charts, what the expected score should have been. I actually had that game at 41. I had the rematch at 56. What's interesting, though, is I had the road team dominating both games, yet they both lost the games on the field. They actually were the better team in both games. Seattle, I had winning by 13 back in November on the rescore, and I had the Rams winning by 14 last month in December at Seattle. So LA is definitely a live dog in this game. And let's not forget, there was only 20 points in the first half of that 75-point game, and the first half was under in both games so far this season. And we often see teams come out conservative. Marco mentioned how he doesn't think the Seahawks are going to ask Sam Darnold to do too much, and I agree. He had, 4 interceptions in the game in L.A. He had 1 or 2 the other last month as well at home. I think it was either 5 or 6 interceptions in the 2 games. So if it is a conservative start, that first half under might be the way to play it instead of the full game because we're still getting 22.5, 23. There's really not any difference. 21's the key number. So now that line's dropped to 46, 45.5, maybe look at first half under 23. The first quarter maybe under, but there's not a lot of value there. That's at 9.5. Would have really liked it under 10. But yeah, the contrarian call in the first game is Denver. The contrarian call in the second game is the under with Seattle, LA. If you want to be on the sharp side and against the public, that's how you're playing the 2 games today.
Steve Merrill, you're the absolute best, and I see that your video is crushing it right now on the WagerTalk YouTube page.
Yeah, so yesterday I did I premiered my college basketball top 25, Ariel, and it got around 7,000 views, and I was disappointed. I'm thinking to myself, man, you got to wake up. The NFL fade the public.
Steve Merrill in all of my titles on YouTube, and I take off because
it was funny to me. I mean, the head's getting too big, Ariel, because I was thinking I used to not even get 7,000 views on my fade the public video, and now I'm like disappointed. It's a college basketball video, which hadn't been out all year. That's still really good for a Saturday, but I do want to remind people I'm doing that Saturday college hoops video, just like I did for college football. As the hoops, talking about football's almost over. I know it's sad, but hey, we got a ton of basketball every day, and we got baseball. I know you're excited about baseball right around the corner. That's the bread and butter sports, right? Have fun with these 2 NFL games today, but if you're serious about making money, you want to be playing basketball and baseball this spring and summer, and we've got some special offers at WagerTalk.com, and I will have a ton of free play videos for basketball each and every day, so click subscribe, click the bell for instant alerts. You'll never miss out here on WagerTalk TV.
What are you promoting today?
I do have a strong NFL best bet. My top NFL client best bet is available. And as I mentioned earlier, nobody's won more NFL profit over the past year plus in the NFL. I'm also number one in the NBA the last 2 months on best bet profit. NBA is doing fantastic. And I do have that rest of season special for the NBA up right now, a special discounted price. And also, if you want to try out just 7 days, get 7 for the price of 3. That's still available. And also the 1-year investment approach for about $1 a play with an instant $500 discount. All of that's available. No bonus codes needed. And don't forget also a free play every day on my page. The last cut, just a bit outside, goes up free on my page. So check out the free play. Check out the best bets. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com, and get there quicker. WT.buzz/SM.
Steve, you are the absolute best. Can't wait to talk to you again later
Thanks,
this
Ariel.
week and talk about the Super Bowl. And of course, we'll talk some basketball. Wager Talk last call here with Steve Merrill. You are the greatest. Good luck today. I will see you soon.
Thanks, Ariel. Great seeing you.
Just a few more props. I've got the Prop Queen guide, by the way, on thepropqueen.com. When you click newsletter, you could subscribe at thepropqueen.com and get the Prop Queen guide, which gives you every offensive player prop that has a prop edge. Some of the edges might be gone. Some are still available, but you can check it out at thepropqueen.com. Get all of the prop edges of today. A prop that I haven't mentioned yet to anybody. AJ Barner, the tight end for Seattle. Look at his under on receiving yards. It's gone down from 29.5 to 27.5. This was in the Prop Queen guide, which went out Thursday. And I said the under 29.5 has value because he's averaging, even though he's done well, it was like a fishy line because he had 70 and 49 receiving yards against the Rams this year. So why was this number 29.5? Well, the Rams have allowed the 8th least receiving yards per game to tight ends, and 60% of tight ends in the last 10 games 71% of tight ends in the last 10 games have gone under their receiving yard prop. So definitely take a look at AJ Barner. Anything else you need can either check out at thepropqueen.com with the betting guide, or you could look on the YouTube page at the Prop Queen. I'm going to be posting some props right now, right after this. So I'm going to post some props there to the YouTube page at the Prop Queen Media page on the channel. But you got all the props from Yanni. You got a bunch of props from me. I hope we gave you some winners today here on the show. Good luck to all of your bets. We will not have a last call on Sunday next week, but we will, of course, have one for the Super Bowl. I will see you all then. Good luck today.